So, what we're going to do today is actually a request. Okay, so when we are hitting to play single player, okay, and we select our character, okay, we are over here and we're playing our match. Now, what we're going to see is after we've played a bit, okay, and we won. So let's sit, and I think this guy should be this. Yeah, let's sit for one round. Okay, wait till all our title screens end. Okay, well, let's wait till the next round starts. Okay, sit again, and after the match is finished, which is basically after we have our 2 wins, okay, we are created into a randomly selected level and a randomly selected player or an enemy. The enemies also do not duplicate with each other, although we only have 3 and we do not allow the character or to use the same player as the player is using as an enemy. Okay, so that basically means we only have 2 options, and I've also have 2 levels, but it will work with many more characters, and we can also control the progression stages, although because we do some other stuff which we will see in a bit. Okay, it's controlled by how many characters you have, but of course we can do 5 characters over here, or you can do 20 characters, doesn't matter, and you can change the progression stages, and it will it will play with them too. However, over here we're not going to see this, since it will be the same, so it will look just like duplicate, so we'll leave it to where it was. Now, how this works is when we're hitting play, okay, single player, we have a new script we're going to see, which is called My Scene Manager. Progression stage, I said what it is. Levels are the actual levels, and we have main scenes. Basically, this script is going to control the loading of the scenes also, and not just loading, and we're not going to do the way we did it before through each script of its own. So whenever you want to load a script, you're going to do a request on this script, and this will handle all the rest. And we are here on our select screen. Okay, we only have 3 characters, but 6 portraits, and whichever guy we select, okay, it does what it does, and it comes over here and populates this list, which is the progression. If you remember, in either Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, when before you load the actual game, there was another scene that made you play, that basically made the character move around the world, or has that columns Mortal Kombat has. And what this translates into script is we have the character ID, which is the enemy, or what character the enemy is using, and the level. So in this case we have Fighter 3 and the level 1, okay, which is this level, and the next one will be the Fighter 1, which is the guy with the blue, and then the level ID, it's the second level. Since we only have 2, it's either going to be a 1 or 2. Now, the levels are completely random without any restrictions, so there is a case that you might have level 1 and level 1 again. Okay, and what happens when you actually finish the progression, we just throw you into the intro scene, and we're going to see a bit more examples. Now, let's see the actual script. My scene, I'm going to call it My Scene Manager, because Scene Manager is already inside Unity. Okay, there is already a class inside Unity called Scene Manager, and that goes with the namespace of Unity Engine Scene Management. to avoid duplicates and errors, okay, we're going to call this my scene manager. If you call it simply scene manager, then you're going to override this, which is what actually the function that actually loads the new level. Of course, you can understand this is a problem. Okay, this one is simple. Progression stage, how many stages we have. String levels, it's the actual level names. Okay, and by actual level names is these names you see over here, and you also need to add them before we forget on the build settings. Okay, the names are important. If you change the name, then you need to come and change it on over here too. Main scenes is a new class which only has level ID, and this has to do with the main scenes that have to do, with the framework of the game, like the intro scene, the main menu scene, and we will see in a bit what else. Way to load. Okay, progress index, what current progress we have, and we have a public list of solo progression, which is a new class, which is our progression. We do not need to make this public. I just have it for the purposes of the video. Okay, code definition, what it does, has two strings for the character ID and the level ID, and we need a reference to the character manager. Okay, on start we use getInstance on our character manager since it's a singleton, and we have a few more functions that we use. Of course, it's a singleton. Okay, and we also use don't destroy on load. We want this game object, the script with this game object, to not be destroyed. And I have it on the same game object with the character manager, which also has a don't destroy on load. But this script can go into any other game object as well. Okay, so just to be safe, let's just add it also over here so that we know that we're not losing it. Let's go back. Okay, so when we are selecting, we have selected our character. Okay, and we will see in a bit where this is. Then we need to create the progression, and here's where we call this function. We need a list of an integer of the characters we have already placed into our progression. Okay, then we need to find the player's integer, and we do that by using the character manager return character int character manager. Okay, the first player on your since it's a solo, the first player in your players list, it's going to be the actual player. Okay, so this is a new function which we will see inside character manager. We pass the game object the prefab of the character, and if it's the same, then it returns us the integer. Okay, we only want to work with the integer over here. So what it does, okay, the return value will start as 0, and it's going to look into all our character list and it's going to compare the prefabs with the one we are passing. Not the game object exactly, or the instantiated game object, the actual prefab that is sitting on our Unity folder. Okay, and it's going to return your integer over here. Okay, so we have the integer of the player. If we do not want to duplicate or the enemies, the player fight its own self, then we need to add this into its own list, into the used character list basically. Okay, so we need to add that integer. Now, here's some debugging. In case our progression stages are higher than the actual characters we have, -1 is because we have already removed one player, then we need to assign the progression stage to be the maximum of what we have to work. -1 because list starts from 0 and count will always be +1 and minus another one, so -2, because we have already added the main character or the player's character. Okay, so this clamps our progression stage. If we do not clamp this, then the while loop we have over here is going to crash it. Okay, so after that we simply do a for loop with all our until we have finished our progression stages. Okay, solo progression, we create a new solo progression, we assign randomly a level, and we simply do a random.range 0 levels.count. Okay, so it will pick a random level, and we assign that on our solo progression level ID. Okay, now character integer, we have a function that returns a random integer, a unique random integer, and to use this function we need to pass a list, the minimum, which is always going to be 0, and the maximum. In our case, the maximum is going to be the maximum players, the maximum characters we have into our list. Okay, and we have, well, this will return us a unique random integer. Let's see this. Okay, list min max, return value random range between min and max, and while our list contains the return value, so if the player selected the first character and the random.range returns the first character, while we have the same values duplicated inside our list, it's going to run the return value until it finds a value that it's not already inside the list. Okay, and then returns the value. That's why we need to clamp the progression stage, because we will have more characters than if we have more progression stages than characters, then the while loop is going to run forever, because we have already added more values than what we have. Okay, so that means it's going to crash. It's going to be an infinite loop. This will return us, as I said, the unique random integer. We're going to assign the character ID on our current progression, which we have over here, and use characters. We're going to add the character integer, and we're going to add this into our progression list. And as I see it over here, we should also do a cleanup. Yeah, so before we create our progression, let's do a progression to clear. So if it's the second time you're playing, then you do not have to play with the previous, with the previous characters. Otherwise, it's going to add up, since we never destroy this game object. That means we need to take care to clear our list. Now, okay, this creates our progression. Now we have two ways when we want to load a scene. It's either going to be loaded the next level we have on our progression, or it's going to load one of the main scenes. When we want to load next on progression, we're going to start with a target ID, scene type, of course, scene type. Scene type is actually just a simple enum. It's either a main scene or a progress scene, or the actual game scene, if you will. Okay, so we start with the defaults basically, and we're going to check if the progress index is greater than the progression count, -1 of course. Then we're going to revert back to the intro. If you have, a victory scene or whatever, you will add it over here. Okay, instead of the intro, just add the name of your new scene, and what you do there, it's going to control that, and so on. Okay, scene type main. Else, target ID, progression index, level ID, whatever is next on our progression. We assign the prefab, so we use the prefab of the second player, which is the enemy, okay, which is in our case is character manager, return character with ID, progression index, character ID, and we have our prefab, okay, and we add into our progression index. So the next time this is going to run, is going to run the next on the list. And we do the other function we have, request level load, which is this one, request level load. You need to pass the scene type and string level. We need to start with wait to load, otherwise it's going to load multiple times. It's going to start the coroutine and load the scene multiple times. Okay, we start with target ID as empty, and depending on the type, if it's main or if it's one of the levels, we're either going to assign with the target ID with the function return main scene, which we will see why this is different, or we're just going to assign the level we are passing anyways. So if this is called from over here, it's going to get the target ID and assign it to our next level. Okay, wait to load and start coroutine, load scene level ID, which is, we need this to be inside the coroutine so that we can use yield return. Okay, scene manager, load scene async, level ID, single, and then stop waiting to load. So for how long time this is going to load, the player is not going to be faced with a free screen. Of course, the game is very simple at this point, so the loading times will be very fast, but the more you add, the more time it's going to take. Now the return main scene is just the level ID. Return main scene will be going to search through the level, through basically a list of main scenes, and it's going to return you the main list or the main scene. It's going to assign it and it's going to return you this class, which also has the level ID. Now why I did this is because we have very differentiated screens, so the intro with a select screen, and we're going to see an example with a loading screen or something. Okay, those are kinda of way too much differentiated scenes. Okay, and we need to know what we're going to call. So with this, it's a little bit of encapsulation. So instead of having multiple strings over here, I just have them inside a list and just search for what we need over there and return that. Although, now that I think of it, yeah, we can't just hardcode this, to be honest, when we are using this, I guess. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can still use this each way. Okay, so basically that's the new script we're going to see. Do not forget to add it inside the My Scene Manager. And now we need to see where we need to change stuff from all the other, all our previous code we have written. The first thing on our list will be Intro Scene Manager. Okay, this is the script that we have into our intro scene. And if you go way down the line, we have a coroutine, load level, okay, handle selected options, all that. Instead of using scene manager load level async, we're going to see my scene manager. Of course, we need to call the singleton, request level load, scene type is main, and select. And that is what I meant to say by this. We are hard coding it. Let's actually try it. Okay, if I put progression and just pass this, it should probably work, or at least I hope so. And yeah, it works. So yeah, you can get rid of the list and use hard code it, but just for consistency, let me let me put main back over here. Anyway, so let's see, although you should probably cast this into a hash and use that if you want to be extremely optimized. Anyway, okay, into Scene Manager, similarly we're going to go into our character manager and we're going to add a new boolean which is going to be called solo, and with the solo, of course, we're going to be ticking inside, not over here, inside our select screen manager, which is this one. When we are loading the level, okay, we have selected both our characters, and when we load the level, if the character manager says this is a solo game, it's going to go to my scene manager, it's going to first create the progression, and then it's going to load the next one we have on our progression. Else, it's just going to create if this is if it's not solo, then that means it's multiplayer, so it's one player against the other. So I simply hard coded to use the new scene. However, okay, you probably need to have a level select screen. It's just a simple way of before you do this, before you request a level load, just make another bit of code that lets the player select between your levels, basically. Though the similar way we have it over here. Okay, just a grid and the way we move and all that. Okay, it's very simple. Okay, let's see where the solo actually is assigned, and it's assigned inside the select screen, inside the start, and if the character manager says that our number of players equals 1, then that means it's solo. Okay, that's what it is, and the only thing left to do is do the change on the level manager. Okay, we are ending the turn, and previously we had, if the match is over, either do the turn again or decide who has won, and if it's character manager solo, then load next on progression. Either do request level load and go back to the select screen. Now, this doesn't take into account who actually won though. So we're going to say if character manager players, let's see how we can how we decide who was the final winning player. Okay, so we can compare this. So we can say if victor player is, and this is probably a player base, equals character manager players 0. This will work. Yeah, player base. Okay, if the victor player is the first one, then play the other one. Otherwise, let's do a request load and let's say game over. Okay, two things. Remember this name. Okay, because we're going to create a new scene and we're going to name that. So we have if the first player wins, so the actual player wins, then it's going to load the next on the progression. If it loses, then it's going to load the game over scene. Of course, we need to come and do two things. Let's go back into the intro scene. On character manager, we're going to go into our main scenes. Let's say size 3, game over. Okay, although I talked before what you can hard code it. And let's see, let's create a new scene, let's save, and let's add a black sky or something, and let's add just a UI, let's add a text, and I do not see it, and because it's black. Color, let's make it red, I don't know, let's change the pixel, let's change the font size, or let's do something like this, let's put it in the center, let's write game over, let's change the text to 50, let's go, I think something like 80, okay, let's put it, anchor it in the center. So this is our game over scene. Now we're not done completely yet. Of course we can add, you know, let's animate it, or let's try to animate it, I guess. I don't know the results, to be honest. Animations, let's call this UI, fade in, and it's going to start with color value 0, then on this one, on the first frame, it's going to add, let's see, we're going to change this to something like, you know, full alpha. Okay, so it's just a simple fade in. Now we're either going to disable the add a new animation, or we can simply say we need to assign animator enabled. What it did, I don't see any new keyframes. Animator enabled. Yeah, so the animator cannot close his own animator. So we can actually, yeah, let's just add another, let's call this idle, and okay, just make it so it's idle. Let's close this, close this. Let's make sure our animator has a transition, so it's simply going to fade from one to the other. Okay, this is our game over scene, and it's going to fade. Let's save also game over, and let's add another script. Let's call this game over scene. Okay, reload. We want yeah, let's delete, let's keep the start, let's delete the update, we don't need it. Let's make public float timer. Let's, I think 3 seconds are enough, and let's create, oops, load scene. And what we're going to do over here, let's see if I have a namespace. I do not. We're simply going to say yield return, wait 4 seconds, wait new 4 seconds, timer, and then my scene manager, get instance, request level load, scene type, let's go main, and let's go back to the intro. Okay, and what this is going to do is going to basically wait 3 seconds, and is going to request to change the scene. Of course, to do that we need to start coroutine, And I think we're ready. Let's go back. We need to drop this into an actual camera though, into an actual game object, doesn't matter which one. Okay, save, open build settings, drop in there, game over, game over. Okay, let me check if I have the same name into my level manager. Okay, game over. Let's test this, and let me remove this. What's this? Yeah, let me remove my bookmarks so I know that I haven't forget something. Alright, let's test this. Of course we need to go to the intro, press start, single. Okay, select a character. My character is fighter object, the first one. Okay, we lost the first round. Player 2 wins, because I let him win, of course. Okay, we lost the game. It should probably now load, if everything is correct, it's going to load the game over scene. Yep, game over, 3 seconds, intro scene. Okay, so that's how we can now infuse, start adding scenes effortlessly. Okay, so if you want to add loading screens, if you want to add level select screens, it's basically just a simple thing of going into creating a new screen. Okay, writing the logic for the screen like this. If you want to pass differences from one scene to, not differences, references from one scene to another, then do so in either one of these two scripts, or just do another script that's more dedicated for that. Okay, so that's it for today. We might do some more. I have some plans for this one, for as long as the 2D fighting game is concerned, but it's very future plan. Okay, if you have any more requests or any more suggestions for any other for any other feature we can add on this game or any of the other ones, then feel free to comment so down. So you know what to do. If you like what we're doing, then consider supporting our Patreon or with a project or two from Gumroad, so that we can continue making all this nice stuff, okay, and having them of course available for free for everyone. So I'll see you next time.